The Book of Genesis. Genesis 1. Creation, days 1 through 6. Day 1. God creates heaven and earth and light. Day. Day 2. God creates the firmament, heaven. Day 3. God creates land and sea, grass and fruit trees. Day 4. God creates light bearers, greater, lesser, and stars. Day 5. God creates swarms in sky and sea, including sea monsters. Day 6. God creates creatures of land, cattle, creeping things, and beasts, and man. God gives man dominion over the earth. Genesis 2. Creation, Day 7. Day 7. God rests and blesses the day. The generations of the heavens and the earth. There is no shrub or plant, no rain, and no man. Yahweh God creates Adam, man, from dust. Yahweh God plants the garden in Eden. Yahweh God grows the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden. The river out of Eden divides into 4 rivers: Pishon around to Havilah where there is gold, Gihon around the land of Cush, Tigris east of Assyria, and the Euphrates. Yahweh God puts the man in the garden to guard it and keep it, and instructs him. Yahweh God brings to Adam all the animals to name. Yahweh God makes Eve from one of Adam's ribs. Adam says, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." Genesis 3. The serpent of the field tempts Eve. Eve tells of God's prohibition of eating the forbidden fruit. The serpent says, "You shall not surely die." The fall. Eve eats the forbidden fruit and gives it to Adam, who is with her. Adam and Eve are ashamed when God meets with them in the wind of the day. Adam blames Eve and God. Eve says that the serpent deceived her. God curses the serpent. He promises to crush his head with the seed of the woman. God curses the woman, pain in childbirth. God curses the man, the cursed ground and sweat. Adam names his wife Eve. God drives Adam and Eve from the garden and places cherubim there to guard it. Genesis 4. Cain, a tiller of the ground, and Abel, a keeper of flocks, are born. God accepts Abel's offering, but rejects Cain's. Cain kills Abel in the field. Yahweh says, "The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground." Yahweh curses Cain and his line. Cain builds the city of Enoch, east of Eden. Line of cursed Cain: Enoch, Arad, Mahujael, Methushael, Lamech, 7th from Adam, Jabal, father of tent dwellers and herders, Jubal, father of lyre and pipe players, and Tubal-Cain, a forger of bronze and iron, from Lamech's 2 wives. Lamech sings a song to his wives: "I have killed a man." Seth is born to Adam. Enosh is born to Seth. Men begin to call on Yahweh. Genesis 5. The generations of Adam. God creates man in his likeness and blesses him. Adam's descendants to Noah, the chosen line: Adam, Seth, in Adam's image and likeness, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, seventh from Adam, walked with God and God took him. Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, the one who will give rest, tenth from Adam. Shem, Ham, and Japheth, when Noah was 500 years old. Genesis 6. The wickedness of man is great on the earth. The sons of God take wives of the daughters of men. God gives 120 years of grace. Mighty Nephilim are on the earth. Because of man's wickedness, God is sorry for making man. The generations of Noah. Noah finds grace with God and is righteous. Blameless Noah has 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. God promises to destroy the earth. God instructs Noah to build the ark. The ark shall be from gopher wood, with rooms and covered with pitch. The ark shall be 300 cubits by 50 cubits by 30 cubits. The ark shall have a window, a door, and 3 levels. God says, I will establish my covenant with you. 2 of every animal will come, and Noah must gather food. Noah obeys and builds the ark. Genesis 7. Yahweh instructs Noah to enter the ark with the animals, and Noah obeys. Noah enters the ark with the animals, who enter in 2s and 7s. With Noah are his wife, his 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and his sons' wives. Yahweh closes the door. The flood. In Noah's 600th year, the floodwaters come for 40 days and 40 nights. Water covers the entire earth, and all creatures on the earth die. The water covers the earth for 150 days. Genesis 8. The Spirit passes over the waters, and they subside. The ark comes to rest on the mountains of Ararat. After 40 days, Noah opens the window and sends out birds. He sends out a raven, and it does not return. He sends out a dove, and it returns. After another 7 days, Noah sends out the dove again. She returns with an olive leaf. After another 7 days, Noah sends out the dove again, and she does not return. Noah removes the covering of the ark and sees that the surface of the ground is dried up. Noah, his family, and all the animals exit the ark following God's instruction. Noah offers an ascension offering, and God promises never to destroy every living thing in this way. Genesis 9. God blesses and instructs Noah. Be fruitful and multiply. Animals are for food. Do not eat blood, which is the life. The man who sheds blood must die. God makes a covenant with Noah and all living creatures. No more floods will cover the earth. God put the bow in the cloud to see and to remember, as a sign of the covenant. Noah is the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan. Ham rebels against Noah. Noah plants a vineyard and enjoys its wine. Ham sees his naked father and tells his brother about his father's nakedness. Shem and Japheth cover their father with their faces turned away. Noah curses Ham through his son Canaan. Noah blesses Shem and Japheth. Noah dies 350 years after the flood, at 950 years. Genesis 10. The generations of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, 70 nations from the line of Noah. Japheth, father of Gentiles who dwell in the tents of Shem. Ham, father of unfaithful Gentiles, including Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahweh, and founder of Babylon in the land of Shinar, and of Assyria. Mizraim, Egypt, father of the future Philistines. Canaan, and the Canaanites. Shem, including Arpachshad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, when the earth was divided, brother of Joktan, who moved east. Genesis 11. The people travel east and build the Tower of Babel. The people are of one tongue. East, in the plain of Shinar, the people tried to build a city and a tower that would reach to heaven. Yahweh confuses their speech. The people are scattered over the face of the whole earth. Shem's descendants to Abram, the chosen line. Shem, Arpachshad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, father of Haran, Abram, and Nahor. Abram. The generations of Terah. Terah, with Abram and Lot, moves to Haran. Abram's wife is Sarai, who is barren. Terah dies in Haran at 205 years. Genesis 12. Yahweh calls Abram. Go forth from your country. I will make you a great nation. In you all the families of the earth will be blessed. At age 75, Abram enters Canaan with Lot. Abram builds altars in Shechem and Bethel. Yahweh promises the land to his seed. Abram journeys to the Negev. Due to famine, Abram and Sarai sojourn and exit from Egypt. Abram calls Sarai his sister. Pharaoh takes Sarai into his house and treats Abram well for her sake. Yahweh strikes Pharaoh's house with plagues, so Pharaoh returns Sarai to Abram. Pharaoh sends Abram out of Egypt. Genesis 13. Very wealthy, Abram with Lot settles in the Negev, then near Bethel and Ai. Due to strife, Abram and Lot separate. Lot also has many flocks, herds, and tents. Abram gives Lot the choice between settling in the west in Canaan or in the east. Lot chooses and settles in the well-watered circle of the Jordan to the east. The men of Sodom, where Lot settled, are exceedingly wicked. Yahweh promises Abram and his seed the entire land. Yahweh tells Abram, I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth. Abram moves to the oaks of Mamre in Hebron and builds an altar. Genesis 14. Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and his 3 allies defeat the 5 kings of the valley. The 5 cities of the valley of Sittim are Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, which is Zoar. After serving Chedorlaomer for 12 years, the 5 kings rebel. Chedorlaomer and his allies regain control over the valley of Sittim and the surrounding territories. Chedorlaomer and his allies defeat the Rephaim, the Zuzim, the Emim, the Horites, the Amalekites, and the Amorites. The armies of the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah are defeated because they fall into the tar pits. Lot is taken captive. With 318 men, Abram rescues Lot and the other inhabitants, defeating the forces near Damascus and returning all their possessions. Abram gives a tithe to Melchizedek, who blesses him. Abram refuses to accept any payment from the king of Sodom except what his men have eaten. Genesis 15. Yahweh makes promises to Abram in a vision. Yahweh tells Abram, "I am your very great reward. Your heir shall come from your own body, not from Eliezer of Damascus. Your seed shall be like the stars of the heavens." Abram believed in Yahweh, and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. Yahweh promises Abram the land of Canaan. God cuts the covenant with Abram. The animals, except the birds, are cut in half. A deep sleep falls on Abram. After 400 years of slavery and oppression, Abram's seed will return to possess the land when the sin of the Amorites is complete. Yahweh passes through the pieces of the animals. Yahweh promises that Abram's seed would possess the land from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates. Genesis 16. Sarai gives Hagar, her Egyptian maid, to Abram. After Hagar conceives, Sarai treats her harshly. Hagar flees to the wilderness. At a well of water, God promises to multiply Hagar's seed. You shall call his name Ishmael, which means God hears. The well is renamed Bir Lahai Roi, meaning the well of the living one who sees me. Ishmael is born when Abram is 86 years old. Genesis 17. God's covenant with Abraham. Abram's name is changed to Abraham, which means father of a multitude. Yahweh promises, kings will come forth from you. I will be God to you and to your seed after you. I will give to you and to your seed all the land of Canaan. Circumcision is the sign of the covenant. Every male among you who is 8 days old shall be circumcised, including servants. Sarai's name is changed to Sarah, which means princess. Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac, which means he laughs. My covenant I will establish with Isaac. God goes up from Abraham. Abraham at 99 years, Ishmael at 13 years, and Abraham's household are circumcised. Genesis 18. At the oaks of Mamre, 3 men meet Abraham in the heat of the day. Abraham washes their feet and feeds them bread, a calf, curds, and milk. Yahweh announces that Sarah will have a son in 1 year. In the doorway, Sarah laughs. Yahweh asks, "Is anything too difficult for Yahweh?" The 3 angels consult Abraham about destroying Sodom. Yahweh asks, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do?" Abraham asks, "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Shall not the judge of all the earth do justice?" Yahweh would not destroy Sodom for 50, 45, 40, 30, 20, or 10 righteous people. Genesis 19. In Sodom, Lot invites the two angels to spend the night and eat with him. Lot prepares a feast of unleavened bread for them. The men of Sodom demand that Lot send the men out so that they may know them. The angels strike the men of Sodom with blindness. The angels warn Lot to flee Sodom with his family. In the morning, the angels take Lot by the hand to hurry them out. Lot escapes to Zoar. God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah with brimstone and fire from heaven. Lot's wife looks back and is turned to a pillar of salt. Abraham sees the smoke ascending. Lot and his daughters live in a mountain cave. Lot's daughters make Lot drunk and have sons by their father, Moab and Ben-Ami. Genesis 20. Abraham moves from the oaks of Mamre to the Negev, then to Gerar. Abimelech, king of Gerar, attacks Sarah by taking her from Abraham. Abimelech repents when God reveals to him the truth that Sarah is Abraham's wife. Abraham is a prophet and will pray for Abimelech. Abimelech returns Sarah to Abraham. Abraham tells Abimelech that he had thought that there was no fear of God in Gerar. Abraham gains many possessions from Abimelech. Abimelech gives Abraham sheep, oxen, servants, silver, and Sarah. Abimelech lets Abraham settle wherever he wants in his land. Abimelech vindicates the name of Sarah. Abraham prays for Abimelech, and God opens the wombs of his household. Genesis 21. Isaac is born and circumcised on the 8th day. Isaac's name means, "he laughs." Sarah says that God has made her laugh. Hagar and Ishmael are cast out and wander in the wilderness of Beersheba. At the feast of Isaac's weaning, Ishmael laughs. Abraham is distressed for Ishmael, but God makes promises. Hagar leaves the boy, and they weep when the water runs out. God promises to make a great nation of Ishmael. God shows Hagar a well of water. Ishmael grows up in the wilderness of Paran as an archer. Abraham makes a covenant with Abimelech. Abraham will not deal falsely with Abimelech. Abraham complains that Abimelech's servants have seized his well. Abraham gives Abimelech 7 ewe lambs to witness that he dug the well. Because of the oath, they name the place Beersheba, meaning well of the oath. Abraham plants a tamarisk tree there and calls on the name of Yahweh. Abraham sojourns in the land of the Philistines many days. Genesis 22. God tests Abraham by telling him to sacrifice Isaac in Moriah. After traveling 3 days, Abraham takes the boy on the mountain to worship God and promises to return. Abraham tells Isaac that God will provide the lamb for the ascension offering. The angel of Yahweh stops Abraham from killing his son because he knows that Abraham fears God. Abraham offers a ram in place of his son. Abraham names the place Yahweh Jireh. Yahweh will provide. Yahweh promises to multiply Abraham's seed. Your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. In your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Abraham moves to Beersheba. 12 sons are born to Nahor, Abraham's brother, 8 from Milcah, his wife, and 4 to Reumah, his concubine. Genesis 23. Sarah dies at 127 years in Hebron, and Abraham weeps for her. Abraham buys the field and cave at Machpelah from Ephron the Hittite. Ephron wants to give Abraham the field and cave. Abraham wants to pay full price for the cave from Ephron, son of Zohar. In the presence of the sons of Heth, Abraham pays 400 shekels of silver for the field and cave. The field of Ephraim in Machpelah, facing Mamre, is deeded over to Abraham. Sarah is buried in the cave of the field at Machpelah. Genesis 24. Abraham's servant finds a wife for Isaac. Abraham makes his servant vow not to find a Canaanite wife, nor to take Isaac back to the land from which Abraham came. At the well of the city of Nahor, the servant prays that the girl who waters his 10 camels would be Isaac's wife. Rebekah gives Abraham's servant and all the camels water. He puts jewelry on her. When he finds out who Rebekah is, Abraham's servant bows low and worships Yahweh. Laban, Rebekah's brother, welcomes the servant to their home. The servant tells the whole story of the success that Yahweh had given him. After Bethuel and Laban consent, the servant returns to Canaan with Rebekah, her nurse, and her maids. Isaac takes Rebekah into his mother's tent and marries her. Genesis 25. Abraham marries Keturah and has 6 more sons. After giving gifts to his other sons, Abraham gives everything to Isaac. He sends the other sons away eastward. Abraham dies at 175 years and is buried at the cave of Machpelah. Isaac lives in Beer Lahai Roi. The generations of Ishmael. 12 sons are born to Ishmael. Ishmael dies at 137 years. Ishmael's descendants settle from Havilah to Shur east of Egypt. The generations of Isaac. Barren Rebekah gives birth to Jacob and Esau. The twins struggle together in Rebekah's womb. Yahweh promises that the elder shall serve the younger. Esau is red, Edom, and hairy. Jacob grasps on Esau's heel. Esau is a hunter. Jacob is a perfect man in tents. Isaac loves Esau. Rebekah loves Jacob. Esau sells his birthright to Jacob for bread and red lentil soup. Genesis 26. Because of a famine, Isaac moves to Gerar. God repeats Abraham's promises to Isaac. I will be with you and bless you. I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven. Isaac lives in Gerar in Philistine territory. Isaac calls Rebekah his sister, but is seen caressing her. Abimelech forbids anyone to touch Isaac or his wife. Isaac reaps a bountiful harvest and becomes wealthy. Envious Philistines drive Isaac away by filling up Abraham's wells. Isaac moves to the valley of Gerar, digs wells there, and names them. Isaac moves to Beersheba. God meets Isaac in Beersheba. Do not fear, for I am with you. In Beersheba, Isaac builds an altar, pitches his tent, and digs wells. Abimelech and Isaac make a covenant and feast together. Isaac's servants dig another well and find water. Isaac names the place Beersheba. Esau marries 2 Hittite wives who bring grief to Isaac and Rebekah. Genesis 27. Jacob deceives Isaac. supplants Esau, and receives Isaac's blessing. Isaac instructs Esau to hunt game for him. Rebekah instructs Jacob to bring 2 goats so that she can prepare Isaac's savory dish and so that Jacob can pretend to be Esau. Dressed as Esau, Jacob tricks Isaac into eating the meat and blessing him. May God give you of the dew of heaven. May peoples serve you. May your mother's sons bow down to you. Esau returns with game, but Isaac cannot bless him too. Your brother you shall serve. Esau plans to kill Jacob. Rebekah tells Jacob to flee to Laban in Haran and to get a wife there. Genesis 28. Isaac sends Jacob to Padan Aram to find a wife. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you. Esau marries Mahalath, Ishmael's daughter. After leaving Beersheba, Jacob has a dream of a ladder reaching to heaven. Jacob puts a stone under his head. The angels of God ascend and descend on the ladder. From above the ladder, God gives the promises of Abraham to Jacob. I am with you and will keep you wherever you go. Jacob says, this is none other than the house of God. Jacob names the place Bethel, which previously had been Luz. Jacob vows that Yahweh will be his God if Yahweh goes with him. The stone is a pillar of witness. Of all that you give me, I will surely give 1/10 to you. Genesis 29. Jacob meets Rachel, Laban's daughter, at the well and waters her sheep. Jacob rolls the stone from the mouth of the well. Jacob kisses Rachel and lifts up his voice and weeps. Laban greets Jacob, embracing and kissing him. Surely you are my bone and my flesh. Jacob serves Laban 14 years for 2 wives, Leah and Rachel. Jacob loves Rachel. Jacob serves 7 years for Rachel, but Laban tricks him and gives him Leah and Zilpah her maid, because she is older. Jacob serves 7 more years for Rachel and Bilhah her maid. Yahweh opens unloved Leah's womb, but Rachel is barren. Leah bears Jacob's first 4 sons and then stops bearing. Reuben, see a son! Yahweh has seen my affliction. Simeon, he hears. Yahweh has heard that I am unloved. Levi, attached. This time my husband will become attached to me. Judah, praise. This time I will praise Yahweh. Genesis 30. Jacob has sons with Bilhah, Rachel's maid. Jacob says, am I in the place of God who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb? Dan, he judged. Rachel says, God has judged me. Naphtali, I have wrestled. Rachel says, with wrestlings of God I have wrestled with my sister. Jacob has sons with Zilpah, Leah's maid. Gad, fortune. Leah says, with fortune. Asher, happy. Leah says, happy am I, for women will call me happy. Rachel lets Leah lie with Jacob in exchange for Reuben's mandrakes and bears children. Leah gives Rachel Reuben's mandrakes. Issachar, wages. God has given me my wages. Zebulun, he will dwell. Now my husband will dwell with me. Dinah. God remembers Rachel and opens her womb. Joseph, he shall add. May Yahweh add to me another son. Laban agrees to let Jacob keep the speckled and spotted sheep and goats, and black lambs for his wages. Jacob agrees to stay instead of returning home. Jacob travels a 3 days' journey from Laban. Jacob becomes prosperous because of placing striped rods before the flocks when they mated. Genesis 31. Jacob tells his wives that the angel of Yahweh told him to return to the land of his birth. Laban's attitude toward Jacob is no longer friendly. Your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me. Leah and Rachel respond, Do whatever God has said to you. Jacob flees Laban without telling him. Laban pursues Jacob, but God tells him not to speak against him. Laban asks Jacob why he deceived him and why he stole his household gods. Jacob responds, Point out what is yours among my belongings. Rachel humiliates Laban's gods by sitting on them. Angry Jacob contends with Laban. What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Jacob responds to Laban's accusation, God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, so he rendered judgment. Jacob and Laban make a covenant. Jacob and Laban set up a heap of stones for a witness to the requirements. They eat and spend the night on the mountain. Laban departs early. Genesis 32. The angels of God meet Jacob, so he names the place Mahanaim, 2 companies. Jacob's messengers report that Esau is coming with 400 men. The messengers tell Esau in Seir of Jacob's prosperity. Jacob is afraid and distressed about meeting Esau. Jacob splits his people, flocks, herds, and camels into 2 companies. Jacob prays for deliverance from Esau. I am unworthy of all the loving kindness which you have shown your servant. Jacob prepares gifts of many droves of animals to appease Esau. At night, Jacob sends across the Jabbok all his wives and children and whatever he had, but he stays behind. Jacob wrestles with a man all night. The man touches the socket of Jacob's thigh and dislocates it. Jacob's name is Israel, one who strives with God. For you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed. Jacob names the place Peniel, face of God. Jacob limps on his thigh. Genesis 33. Jacob meets Esau, who has 400 men with him. Jacob has his wives and children pass before Esau before bowing down to him 7 times. Jacob and Esau kiss and weep together. Esau meets Jacob's wives and children. Esau accepts Jacob's gifts. Jacob urges Esau to go on without him for the sake of the children and the flocks. Esau returns to Seir. Jacob settles in Succoth, booths, and Shechem with his family. Jacob buys land from Hamor, Shechem's father. Jacob builds an altar in Shechem and calls it El Elohoah Israel, God the God of Israel. Genesis 34. Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, defiles Dinah. Jacob's sons are very angry when they hear what happened. Hamor asks that Dinah be given to Shechem in marriage. Give your daughters to us and take our daughters for yourselves. Shechem will give whatever bride price is asked. The sons of Jacob deceitfully require that the men of Shechem become circumcised. The men at the gate of the city agree that everyone should be circumcised. All the men of Shechem are circumcised. On the third day, Levi and Simeon, Dinah's brothers, kill the sore men and loot the wealth of Shechem. Jacob rebukes Levi and Simeon. Jacob says that Levi and Simeon have made him stink to the inhabitants of the land. Levi and Simeon reply, "Should he make our sister like a harlot?" Genesis 35. Jacob obeys God and moves to Bethel. Jacob says, "Put away the foreign gods which are among you." Jacob buries the foreign gods under the oak near Shechem. Jacob builds an altar in Bethel and calls it El Bethel, the God of Bethel. Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, dies and is buried under an oak near Bethel named Alon Bakuth, Oak of Weeping. God appears to Jacob in Bethel and blesses him. God changes Jacob's name to Israel and gives the promises of Abraham to Jacob. Jacob sets up a pillar and pours a drink offering and oil on it. Jacob again names the place Bethel. Rachel dies as she gives birth to a son. Rachel calls him Ben-Oni, the son of my sorrow. Jacob calls him Benjamin, the son of the right hand. Rachel is buried in Bethlehem near Ephrath. Jacob sets up a pillar over her grave. Israel moves beyond the Tower of Eder. Reuben lays with Bilhah, Jacob's concubine. The 12 sons of Jacob are listed. Isaac dies in Mamre of Kiriath Arba at 180 years. Jacob and Esau bury Isaac. Genesis 36. The generations of Esau. Esau's wives are Canaanites. Esau moves to the hill country of Seir because his and Jacob's prosperity had become too great. Esau is Edom. The descendants and chiefs from Esau are listed, among whom include Amalek, Eliphaz, and Teman. The descendants of Seir the Horite are listed, among whom include Anah. The kings of Edom are listed, among whom include Jobab and Husham the Temanite. The chiefs descended from Edom are listed, among whom include Teman. Genesis 37. The generations of Jacob. Joseph and his brothers shepherd their father's flocks. Joseph brings back a bad report to their father. Jacob gives Joseph a royal, multicolored coat. Joseph's brothers hate him because he is their father's favorite. Joseph tells his brothers about his dream of their sheaves bowing down to his, and they hate him even more for it. Joseph tells his brothers and his father about his dream of the sun, moon, and stars bowing down to him. Jacob asks, "Shall I and your mother and your brothers come to bow ourselves down before you to the ground?" Joseph's brothers hate him and are jealous of him for the dream of the stars. Jacob sends Joseph to Shechem to check on his brothers and the flock. A man finds Joseph wandering in the field and directs him to Dothan. Joseph's brothers plot against him and sell him to merchants. Reuben does not let the other brothers take Joseph's life. Joseph's brothers strip him of his royal coat and throw him in a pit. Judah suggests that they sell Joseph to Ishmaelite merchants, so they do. The Ishmaelites take Joseph to Egypt. Joseph's brothers rip his coat and dip it in blood to show Jacob. When the brothers show Jacob the coat, he tears his clothes and mourns for Joseph many days. Joseph is sold to Potiphar, Pharaoh's officer. Genesis 38. Judah visits Hira the Adulamite, takes a Canaanite bride, the daughter of Shua, and has 3 sons with her, Onan, and Shelah. Marries Tamar, a Canaanite, but dies because he is evil in the sight of Yahweh. Onan wickedly refuses to raise up seed for his brother, so Yahweh takes his life too. Judah tells Tamar to remain in his house until Shelah grows up. In Timnah, Judah goes in to Tamar, who he thinks is a harlot, and she conceives. Judah cannot find the harlot to give her the payment of the young goat. When Judah discovers that Tamar is with child by harlotry, he orders that she be burned. Tamar shows Judah his pledge of the ring, cords, and staff. Jacob replies, "She is more righteous than I." Twins are born to Judah. Perez, a breach. What a breach you have made for yourself. Zerah, a dawning. Genesis 39. Joseph prospers in Potiphar's house and becomes the overseer of the house. Yahweh blesses Potiphar's house because of Joseph. Potiphar's wife tries to get Joseph to lie with her, but he refuses. How can I do this great evil and sin against God? Potiphar's wife repeats her temptation day after day. Potiphar's wife catches Joseph alone, and he flees, leaving his garment in her hand. Potiphar's wife falsely accuses Joseph of trying to lie with her. Potiphar puts Joseph in the king's prison, and Yahweh makes him prosper there also. Joseph is in charge of everything in the prison and prospers. Genesis 40. Pharaoh is angry with his cupbearer and baker and puts them in prison, the same as Joseph's. Both the cupbearer and baker have dreams, each with its own interpretation, and Joseph gives the interpretations. Do not interpretations belong to God? Cupbearer: a vine with 3 branches produces grapes, which he squeezed into Pharaoh's cup. Baker: there were 3 baskets on his head, and birds ate from the top one. Joseph's interpretations of both the cupbearer's and the baker's dreams come true. The cupbearer is restored to his office. The baker is hanged. Pharaoh's cupbearer forgets Joseph. Genesis 41. Pharaoh has 2 disturbing dreams. 7 ugly and skinny cows eat up 7 fat cows. 7 thin ears of grain swallow up 7 plump ears. None of Pharaoh's magicians or wise men can interpret his dreams. The cupbearer recounts how Joseph correctly interpreted his and the baker's dreams. Pharaoh asks Joseph to interpret his dreams. Joseph says, God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. Pharaoh repeats both dreams to Joseph completely. Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dreams. 7 years of famine will follow 7 prosperous years. The dream was repeated because God will quickly bring it about. Egypt should store up food during the 7 years of plenty for the 7 years of famine. Pharaoh raises Joseph to second in command. Pharaoh gives Joseph his signet ring. Pharaoh names Joseph Zaphanath-Paneah. God speaks, he lives. Joseph marries Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. Joseph stores so much grain in Egypt during the years of plenty that it could not be measured. Joseph has 2 sons, Manasseh, Making to forget. God has made to forget all my trouble. Ephraim, fruitfulness. God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. Famine comes to all the lands, and only Egypt has bread. The whole earth comes to Egypt to buy grain. Genesis 42. Jacob sends all his sons except Benjamin to Egypt to buy food. Joseph's brothers bow down to Joseph, and he recognizes them. Joseph's brothers do not recognize him. Joseph remembers his dreams. Joseph repeatedly calls his brothers spies and tests them. Joseph imprisons his brothers for 3 days. To make them prove that they are not spies, Joseph demands that one brother stay behind while the others bring the youngest brother down to Egypt. The brothers remembered Joseph's distress when he pleaded with them. Joseph turns away and weeps. Simeon is bound before their eyes and is imprisoned. Joseph demands that the money for the grain be restored to their bags of grain. The brothers are terrified when they discover the money in their bags of grain. What is this that God has done to us? The brothers tell Jacob all that the Lord of Egypt had done to them. Jacob accuses his sons, "You have bereaved me of my children." Reuben offers his 2 sons in exchange for Benjamin and promises to take care of him. Jacob refuses to let Benjamin go to Egypt. Genesis 43. Joseph's brothers return to Egypt with gifts and Benjamin. Arguing with Jacob, Judah takes responsibility for Benjamin. I myself will be surety for him. The brothers take the best products of the land as well as double money for the grain. When Joseph sees Benjamin, he feasts with his brothers without revealing himself. Because the brothers are afraid, they tell the steward that they brought back the money they found in their sacks. Simeon is released. The brothers give Joseph a present and bow down to him. Joseph greets Benjamin. May God be gracious to you, my son. Joseph weeps in his chamber. Joseph arranges his brothers according to birthright. Joseph serves Benjamin 5 times the amount of food as his brothers. Genesis 44. Joseph tells his steward to return each man's money to the mouth of his grain sack and to put his royal cup into Benjamin's sack. Joseph's steward overtakes the brothers and asks them why they repaid evil for good. The brothers reply that the one who has the cup should die. When the cup is found with Benjamin, the brothers tear their clothes and return to Joseph. Joseph offers everyone to go free except Benjamin, the one with whom the cup was found. Joseph's brothers say, God has found out the iniquity of your servants. Judah offers himself as a substitute for Benjamin. Judah tells of Jacob's long refusal to send Benjamin because of what happened with his brother. Judah says that when Jacob sees that Benjamin is not with them, he will die. Judah had become surety to Jacob for Benjamin. How shall I go up to my father if the lad is not with me? Genesis 45. Joseph makes himself known to his brothers. Joseph makes everyone but his brothers go out. Joseph weeps loudly before his brothers. Joseph's brothers are dismayed in his presence. Do not be angry with yourselves, for God sent me before you to preserve life. Joseph sends for Jacob the rest of the family and all that they have. Joseph and Benjamin weep together. Joseph kisses and weeps on all his brothers. Pharaoh is pleased that Joseph's brothers have come to Egypt, and he invites their father and households to live there. Pharaoh invites Jacob to move with his household and promises the best of the land of Egypt. Joseph provides for his family's journey to Egypt. Joseph provides wagons to transport Jacob and his household. Joseph gives his brothers gifts, but much more to Benjamin. Joseph tells his brothers not to quarrel. Jacob hears that Joseph is alive. "My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." Genesis 46. On his way to Egypt, Jacob stops in Beersheba and offers sacrifices to God. God says, "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you a great nation there." God promises to go with Jacob to Egypt. Jacob brings all his family and possessions into Egypt. The 70 persons of the house of Jacob who go to Egypt are listed, including Joseph and his sons. Jacob and Joseph are reunited in Goshen and weep. Jacob says, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face, that you are still alive." Joseph says to tell Pharaoh that they are shepherds, so that they can live in Goshen. Genesis 47. Joseph presents his brothers to Pharaoh. Joseph's brothers request to live in the land of Goshen. Pharaoh gives Jacob's family the best of the land of Egypt. Jacob blesses Pharaoh. Jacob testifies that his days have been few and evil, yet he still blesses Pharaoh. Jacob's family settles in Goshen. When all the money is gone, Joseph buys all the livestock, land, and people of Egypt for Pharaoh in exchange for food. Joseph does not buy the priest's land. Joseph requires 20% of harvest for Pharaoh. Jacob's family is fruitful in Goshen. Jacob is at the end of his life at 147 years. Jacob has lived in Egypt for 17 years. Jacob makes Joseph promise not to bury him in Egypt, but rather with his fathers. Genesis 48. Joseph takes his sons to sick and elderly Jacob. Jacob claims Ephraim and Manasseh as his own alongside his other sons. Jacob collects his strength to sit up when Joseph and his sons come. Jacob recounts God's promise to bless his household in Egypt. Jacob recounts Rachel's death near Bethlehem. Jacob blesses Joseph and his sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. Jacob crosses his hands and places his right hand on the head of Ephraim, the younger brother. "The angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads." Jacob will not let Joseph switch his hands to the proper birth order. "By you, Israel will pronounce blessing." Jacob gives Joseph one more portion of the inheritance than his brothers. Genesis 49. Jacob blesses his 12 sons. Reuben, uncontrolled as water, you shall not have preeminence. Simeon and Levi, cursed be their anger, for it is fierce. Judah, Judah is a lion's whelp. The scepter shall not depart from Judah. Zebulun, he shall be a haven for ships. Issachar, Issachar is a strong donkey. Dan, Dan shall judge his people. Dan shall be a serpent in the way. Gad, a raiding band shall raid him, but he will raid at their heels. Asher, his food shall be rich. Naphtali, Naphtali is a doe let loose. He gives beautiful words. Joseph. Joseph is a fruitful bough. May the blessings of his father be on the head of Joseph. Benjamin. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. Jacob instructs that he be buried in the field of Machpelah with his fathers. Jacob dies at 147 years. Genesis 50. Jacob is embalmed for 40 days and mourned over for 70 days. Joseph buries Jacob in Canaan. Joseph gets permission from Pharaoh to take Jacob's body to Canaan. All of Pharaoh's servants and elders, Joseph's household and brothers, and Jacob's household go to Canaan to bury Jacob. The large company mourns over Jacob for 7 days at the threshing floor of Atad, which the Canaanites rename Abel Mizraim, mourning of Egypt. Jacob is buried in the cave of the field at Machpelah. Joseph returns to Egypt with his brothers. Joseph's brothers are afraid that Joseph will bear a grudge against them. The brothers again ask for forgiveness and say to Joseph, "Behold, we are your servants." Joseph forgives his brothers again. Joseph says, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Joseph instructs that his bones be carried up from here and dies at 110 years. Joseph says, "God will surely take care of you." Joseph is embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt.